Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And in particular, today, I want to talk about how to actually get your control back after you've lost it. You may be from how can I word that? From, a very stressful event or something that caused you maybe to say things you didn't mean to say, or maybe the little kid in you got frightened and you felt overwhelmed and the world was coming to an end, whatever it is. I want you to understand that getting self control back and getting your balance back, it takes a lot of work, but it is doable. And it's doable in as much time as it takes for you to do certain things. And so that's what I want to talk about today. So hi there to Jody, our admin, and thanks for being here, Jody. Our quotes today are about the repetition of things, right? When we keep repeating things, what happens, right? So repetition of the same thought or action develops into a habit which, repeated frequently enough, becomes an automatic reflex. Now, you do understand that that is true of both our good habits and our bad ones, all right? If we keep on doing what we've always done, we're going to keep on having the same reaction that we've had, and we're going to keep on repeating our mistakes, possibly. So just think about that. And that's why today's quotes are, looking at that repetition thing again from both sides. All right, so hi there, Jeannie. Good to see you. And I'm glad you're here because I have a case study thing that I really want to balance on. So thank you for being here. I always quote my favorite monk who passed away last year, but he said to smile, breathe, and go slowly. Well, I've had a lot of reason to have to remember that in the last couple of weeks. We here at Dear Mama Sal, it's not just me, it's a group of us that get together to discuss coping with life in general. And on Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with our feelings, of which I've had plenty this last couple of weeks. And then on Friday evenings, we normally talk about coping with a restricted budget in the kitchen. And then on Sunday afternoons, we talk about coping with stress. Now, as you know, if you're a regular viewer, I have not done a couple of Friday broadcasts because it's summer and other things. Life got in my way for sure in a lot of ways. And also, Jody had some things that were pretty important as we're going to talk about. So I decided, hey, rather than push it and really just make it more stressful than I needed at the moment, I decided I would control that and just, I was pretty certain you all would understand for some reason. It's been quite a couple of weeks, sorry. All right, so before we get on to the subject, just a couple of quick, I wanted to just say that we know at this time of the year, there are a number of us that have birthdays. And so, first of all, I want to start off with in remembrance of Lola in Louisiana. It would have been her birthday on the 22nd, which is how far away from that tomorrow, right? And so I just, Lola, if you can hear us, we love you, honey. And still thinking about you. You made a difference in our lives. Um, some of you know that on the 25th, double whammy, not only is it Doug's birthday, but it's also the birthday of Dear Mama Sal. So, and it is our 10th birthday on the 25th. Can you believe it? We've done 10 years already. And on the 26th, it is Beth's birthday. So happy birthday to Beth for the 26th. And then, of course, coming up soon after that is my birthday on the 30th, when I'm going to be the big 7-5. Hard to believe, isn't it? I haven't heard about any thoughts and prayers, haven't come through to me. So if you've got any, this would be a good time to shout. I did want to congratulate Jody on fighting her way through all sorts of red tape to try and get herself some better sleeping medication because she hasn't had any decent sleep for a long time. And I really, Jody, I know how difficult that is when you're fighting insurance companies and everything else. But I also know how easy it is to say, oh, can't be bothered. Let me rather suffer. And, you hung in there and, keep us informed, even if we have to wake you up to talk to us every now and then during the broadcast. Sorry. Earl Nightingale said, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality. So again, remember that's good or bad, right? And I want to keep reminding you both sides of that story, because this is all about what do we keep doing that keeps us on the hamster wheel, and what do we need to shift in order to get off the hamster wheel. Now, I'm pretty certain you all know that I've been having this rather unfortunate situation with the management here at the community where I live and my neighbor. And it hasn't been pleasant, and it's getting nastier by the moment. And for a second there, can you understand that I just got totally overwhelmed with it all? I didn't want to deal with it. And, but the thing is this, that's what they're hoping for, that I'll get upset enough and go. Because I'm pretty sure that's what they would like. And so what I did was I decided I need to get off the hamster wheel of it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. How can they do that to me? It's like, that's not getting me anywhere. What am I going to do next? Yeah, what is the next step? And I realized that the very next step I needed to take was get back in control. And from all that negative thinking, because it wasn't doing my health any good, and it certainly wasn't fixing any problems. And so I received, just so that you know, a document that basically asked me to do so much yard work that it would probably take me a season. And I've been given 2 weeks to do it at 75 on my own. No husband to help me, nothing. And so, and also dealing with this business of taking away a part of my garden. So I decided I needed to change how I was thinking to get grips with all of this and get some balance back again. Yeah, it's, I've got lots of reasons to say I'm right on certain things, and I'm certain it's probably upset a couple of you to hear that I'm going through this. And so I want you to be aware that, that I understand that. I'd be, feeling that way if it were in reverse. But what I want us to look at is the critical thinking about all of this. So what is critical thinking? That is when we analyze things. And no, we don't like to analyze things, do we? Because it is, it means we got to weigh things up, good and bad. And by the way, thank you, Jeannie, saying rest in peace, Lola. Yes, I quite agree. So here, how about this? Repetition doesn't create memories. New experiences do. How many of you have been repeating the same excuses as to why you're not doing something that you want to do? All right? Join the rest of the crew. All right. So, but think about that. All right. Which is, if we keep saying we want to do something and don't do it, what is the truth? The truth is, either we're still on the path. In other words, we may need to do certain things before we can take that last big step. And that's okay. But if you just keep giving the excuses, and you understand you're still on the hamster wheel on that issue. Let's think about a triage nurse at a hospital. I don't know if any of my viewers have ever been one, but you will know that the job of a triage nurse is to have a look at all the different people coming in and make a decision as to which order should they be seen in, by virtue of what, obviously if you got half a limb hanging off or something, they put you pretty close to the top. But if you're in because you got migraine or something, that isn't considered to be life-threatening in any way, so that would go farther down. Now, it is the job of that triage person to put you in the right order. Now, for example, I can remember going to a triage nurse once when they thought I had a heart attack. And, you know, my doctor said, you need to get to this hospital because it's the best. Oh, no, they thought I'd had a brain aneurysm. And you know, he didn't say, let me call the ambulance and get you to this hospital. No, he said, you know, just pop up there. In other words, get in my car and drive there. When they thought I might have had a brain aneurysm. You know, go figure. I didn't ever go back to that doctor again. I thought that was a bit stupid. But that's just my judgment. So, you know, I can remember that triage nurse saying to me, that's pretty important. And I said, well, my doctor seemed to think to be okay with me driving here. But I must admit, halfway here, I started to panic a bit as to whether I should be driving. They had me fairly high up the list, I can tell you. And would you agree that a plumber, you know, might evaluate all the equipment he might need, all the tools and things he might need to come and do an inspection of your stuff? Or maybe he's weighing up, because you're not paying your bill, whether he should take you to court or not. Right? He's got to look at both sides of everything to be able to decide whether that's worthwhile. So let's do a little experiment. Jeannie, take a deep breath. Jody, take a deep breath. And anybody else who's out there in the Twitterverse or universe or YouTubeverse, whatever, could you just also take a deep breath? Because I'm going to intentionally talk about something political. And what I want you to do is to feel both sides of this story. Not one side, both sides. All right? So first of all, deep breath. Don't respond yet. All right? How did you feel when you heard about the fact that they had discovered confidential documents at ex-President Trump's house at Mar-a-Lago? And also, how did you feel when you heard that they might have been planted there, you know, all 11 boxes or something? I was trying to imagine how anybody would plant that many. It must be difficult. But anyway, so how many of you, first of all, could feel anger about the confidential documents being there? Jeannie, keep taking a deep breath. I'm coming back to you. Keep breathing. And then how did you feel, you know, when you heard that maybe they had been, you know, somebody in the social media saying, okay, they were planted. All right, so now you've got those feelings going. All right, and I want you to do that. Jeannie, take a breath again. What I want to say is, did you have any critical thinking around this? Did you ask yourself, boy, they must have felt the same way about the Clinton email server? And the fact that Hillary Clinton had top secret business, was it? Yeah, defense business, right? You know, going onto her personal server. How many of you did that? They must have felt the same. And yet, if you think about it, look what's happening to ex-president because of storing that information, and what didn't happen to Hillary Clinton. Can you see that there is a disparity of sorts in there? If you can, then you are capable of critical thinking, and that you have the ability to see both sides of the story. But can you also see that it depends on which side of the fence you sit as to which one is more heinous than the other, which one is worse than the other, right? And I've always said that, you know, things like resistance fighters, you know, in the war were either heroes or traitors, depending on which side of the war you were on. All right. So I want you to understand, you always, if you want to make sure you're balanced, make sure you can see both sides, not just one. We're inclined to fall one side or the other, but that's, you know, that's what human beings do. And if you are busy listening to both sides of the story, then you will remember that that's what life is about. And not to judge people because of what they believe. They believe what they believe because Maybe it's the news program they watch. Maybe it's the friends that they've got. Maybe it's the family that they've got, all right? We all have our reasons for believing what we believe. Doesn't mean we're right. Mortimer Adler said, habits are formed by the repetition of a particular act. They are strengthened by an increase in the number of repeated acts. Habits are also weakened or broken, and contrary habits are formed by the repetition of contrary acts. So how many of you know that the reason propaganda works is they keep repeating the same story over and over until eventually some people begin to believe it? All right. Now, it depends again which side of the political spectrum you come from as to what is actually truth and what isn't. I think Kellyanne Conway's alternative facts, comes to mind here. All right, so well, now that we know that we've got two sides to everything, do you understand if you want to get off the hamster wheel of it's not fair, da 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 da, and all that sort of stuff that you're bound to do, you need to start by going, we said this many times, but I will keep repeating it with as many case studies as I can think of. But the first thing that you need to do is get under control. And the first thing you need to get under control is your mind. All right? So what you need to do is to say, is there any truth in this? If you can ask yourself that question, you understand you are not under control. All right? Of the hamster wheel. If you can say, is there any truth on this? You're slowing the hamster wheel right down. If you're not ready to do that yet, then you're still on high speed treadmill. Jeannie is saying, going back to the political thing, the disparity was what I saw, right? Hillary Clinton had nothing happen, whereas former President home was invaded, including his wife's closet. Yes. Well, who knows, they must have had reason to look in there, Jeannie. Does that make sense? Because is it possible that that's where some stuff was hidden? I don't know. I think when we see the search warrant, we're going to understand that bit a little bit better. I don't want to really comment on that until I find out why did they think they needed to do that, and they will have had to have said that. I think on the search warrant, when they applied for it. With enough emotional intensity and repetition, our nervous system experiences something as real, even if it hasn't occurred yet. How many of you can understand that when I got this incredible list of what I needed to do for yard cleanup in the next less than 2 weeks, I first of all just got, like this because, the only person I could think of that could get all of that done in 2 weeks would be Dougie, if he wasn't working, because he's capable of extreme focus and he has the ability to do things like that. But, I'm a 75-year-old. I don't have a husband who can help me. I don't have children who can help me. You know what I mean? It's like, hello, this is not fair. But thinking it's not fair is not going to change anything. So I had to then start thinking, let me first of all think from the other side. Are there any points in here that are valid? And there were quite a few, quite honestly. It didn't please me to have to admit that I'd let some of the yard, down a bit in terms of TLC. And so the first thing I needed to do is say, okay, fine. Does she have a point? And the answer was yes, in certain areas, absolutely. But I also felt that she didn't, and she had stretched the reality on certain other things. All right. So once I could sort that out, I knew which things to agree to, and then I just needed to work out how long do I think realistically that will take me to do, and then which bits do I dispute. I have the right to not agree. All right, because of prior commitments, health. I've got doctor's appointment, not doctors, but I've got medical appointments coming up. I've got, a few birthday things coming up as well. So I've got to be careful that I don't commit myself to working 24/7 on my yard. I don't have the health to be able to do that. Does that make sense to everybody? So it's not a case of being a bad person, but there was this little bit of me, and I'm certain some of you will understand that. There was this little bit of me, that the little kid in me going, what if they evict me? Because I haven't done it in the time. And then I remembered that you can't evict me for, that you can, it's just like, it's not within the law to try, well, to evict me. You can try, but it's not within the law. So what I also decided to do was going, well, wait a minute, I got this huge document about cleanup. So when I finished answering all those statements in there, I'm going to start with my cleanup issues, things like the shed that I was asked to be removed. So what I did was spent a bit of time this week doing something that I am so glad I did. It was so unfortunate because you remember I dropped my hard drive. And when I did that, all my documents about the sale of the house and buying of this place were on that hard drive. And they're busy trying to rescue that information. So guess what? I didn't have the things I needed in front of me. And I was pretty certain that in there I had a picture of where the shed was originally, and why I had a problem with them telling me that wasn't in the right place, or telling me I had to get rid of it. So what I did was I spent this week going what I thought was the back route. I got hold of the selling realtor who sold me this place. Not my realtor who helped me buy it, but the selling one, because who's going to be holding on to all that promotional stuff would be the seller. So I said, is there any chance that I can get the pictures that you had on your listing from the sale 2 years ago? And guess what? She did. And hang on a second. It was really interesting to see that part of the argument in the cleanup is that I had made this. First of all, here's the shed. That's what I thought my property line was. But they're saying that I put in this bed that was here. Well, in this picture, you can see it was already there when I bought the place. So, and by the way, I've got a close-up of it 2 years ago, a month before I bought it. It was when I came to look at it. And then I've got a picture of 2 years later, and it's got exactly the same break in the railway ties. It's got exactly the same stone, slightly moved. So this is called, if I show that to an arbitration, they're going to say that was there originally. And it was. So I'm not buying that. But I have the right not to agree with it all. Makes sense. And so what I'm going to do is make sure that I have a lot of questions about the cleanup of this issue, and the cleanup about how did you suddenly decide, after this had all been going on for over 10 years, that you suddenly it needs to get changed because of me, and it needs to get changed because I started to complain about the fact that you weren't giving me written notice to come onto the property. Doesn't sound right, but this is called, could you give me your reasons for waiting over 10 years and picking on me for it? And I want to know that for a legal perspective, because when I take it to court, I want to know what their answer is to that. With enough, sorry, we've had that one. Come on, move. I want to say that I am aware that I just have to ask a lot of questions and see what answers come back. So here's what I decided. In order for me to be able to enjoy the next 10 days, rather than live in fear of them, I need to make sure that I do a lot of balancing. All right. I don't want to get into the I gotcha sort of phase, but I want to make sure I look after my rights. So the first thing that I'm doing is making sure that I am doing the things that I can do within the time. Makes sense? So so if you take a picture before and now, you can see progress going on. That's important to me. And so even if I can't finish in time, if I can prove that I have, done significant change in 2 weeks, it's going to be very difficult to get too nasty with me on that one. Or you can try, but legally it would be very difficult. Repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. Make sense? So one of the things I've been doing is I made sure as soon as I could get off the hamster wheel, that I got back into confetti corner, otherwise known as my craft room. Why? Why was it important for me to get the self-control to be able to go into my craft room and start being creative? Let's see if you can understand why I thought I needed to do that. You see, what I know is when you're using that part of your brain that is creative, it is two things happen. Number one, it shuts out a lot of the negative stuff that is going on. Yes, Jody's saying balance, routine. Yes. And also endorphins, Jody, accomplishment. Right. Jeannie's saying to gain control back. Yes. Good. I'm so glad that you guys listen. But you understand, it also would give me an idea of, am I still on the hamster wheel? Because if I can stop the world and not go out there trying to clean up everything and everything else and go, excuse me, you need to just spend a couple of hours creating something. It's good for your health. And the fact that I could told me that I was on the path to getting control back. Makes sense. I always said, I could go back into depression very easily if I followed the old patterns about things that I used to do. All right. If I keep repeating those patterns, I could just fall back into depression. And so now I am aware that there's only one person that's going to drag me out of that hamster wheel, and it's me. And there's only one way I'm going to do it. That's to let go of the emotion and look at the facts. Become the lawyer in me. All right. And when you do that, it is very, very different. So anyway, I was in the craft room and I had, I think you all love this Christmas card, right? And so I was doing, as if you remember, before all this went down, I was actually trying to do a whole lot of things. Trying to mass produce these in some way. And as you know, it takes 17 bits of paper to make this happen. And what I did was I did them in different colors, right? So I did the blue, I did a purple one for those people who love purple, and I did a red one for people who like red, and then I did a light blue one, right? And I did a number of them. I had about more than this going on. This morning, when I said, no, when was it? Last night, when I started to finish the production of all of them, right? I got them all to this point, and now they're just about ready. All they needed was an envelope. Well, guess what? For some reason, I had made them all bigger than the envelope. And because they are so thick, all right, you can see that, right? Because you've got many layers of paper. My guillotine wouldn't cut through them properly. So can you imagine how many hours I spent with these, getting them to that stage, and then finding that out? Well, I want to tell you that there was that part of me that just was ready to chuck the whole lot, and start all over again, which quite honestly, I could have done, because it was all a learning experience, which is make darn sure that you cut the card itself first, right? The actual card, cut that bit first and make sure it fits in an envelope. You know, big learning. Because if I keep just making them and not checking if this is the right size, yes, that's another thing. Jeannie's saying, I could have used a bigger envelope. Well, I just bought 100 of the right size. But yes, Jeannie, you're right. That's plan B. I thought about that as well. You know, could I get a bigger envelope? And I went, no, what is wrong is the design. And I thought the envelopes that I bought were the correct size, and they weren't. So now we need to modify. Now, luckily, all the work I've done, I've been able to learn how to do that. So what I did was I knew somewhere in my life I had a bigger guillotine. Do you know what I mean? A bigger. But Jeannie, I need you to check whether. Oh no, you bought trees and deer, right? You didn't buy this. Okay, so I know that yours fit the envelope. Um, anyway, but somewhere in my life I had the bigger guillotine, and you know that did help quite a bit. And I was able to cut more because of the heavy upgraded guillotine. But can you imagine? This is like I'm doing this to give me less stress, and then suddenly I find out I've been a total bozo. Now, again, can you imagine there was this little kid in me going, "You're just a loser. Can't do anything right." Yeah, and I'm going, "No, this is not about being a loser. I made a simple mistake, and now I want to make sure I don't make that simple mistake again." Find the balance, all right? This isn't that I'm a big loser. This is about, hey, you made a mistake. Everybody does. So when you look at these things that you do, Jody had a wonderful experience this week where she actually got some medication to help her sleep, right? Good idea to have some sleep. But I'm pretty certain now that she's had 6 hours sleep, she probably is asking herself, why didn't I go this route a month ago? Jody, have you thought about that? Because that would be perfectly natural. You know, this actually worked. How come I didn't get angry enough a month ago to get this happening? All right. And what I want you all to see is that we need, and I remember talking to a friend of mine who was a therapist once, and she was talking about alcoholics. And she said, you cannot help an alcoholic on the way down, even if they think, all right, even if they think they're ready for help, they're not. You have to wait until they hit rock bottom and are ready to decide at that point that they want to fight their way out. I didn't ever understand that. Why can't you help somebody halfway down? And the answer is because most addicts still believe that they can carry on drinking or doing whatever while they're in therapy. All right. All right. So Jody's saying, all right, I didn't want to be on medication for sleep. Thought I could eventually manage it myself. Well, duh. Did that make you a loser if you took medication to sleep when you hadn't had any for a month? Jeannie's saying, and for her, it took her a month to get x-rays on your right knee. It's taken me 4 years to get my mammogram done. Why? I was just due to have it when the pandemic came in. And then, of course, we had 2 years of pandemic. And then it took me another year of procrastinating about it. Well, I'm pleased to tell you I went this week. All right? And I'm so glad I did. Because I met the greatest technician ever, in my view. I was so impressed with this young lady who did the mammogram that I came home, and even though it was 8 o'clock at night, I had a 7 o'clock appointment or something, so it was 8:30 by the time I got home. I literally, the first thing I did was sat down and wrote to her boss and said, I just want to tell you my experience. This young lady, the technician, first of all, I don't know what you do where you go to have yours done, but in Canada, I've always had a mammogram where you go in, you have to strip everything off except your undies, but the bra has to come off and everything else. And then you walk around half naked, with one of those stupid hospital gowns on. And it's just yuck, isn't it? Well, guess what? They said, don't worry, just sit down. You don't have to change. And I'm going, what? I don't get to walk around half naked. No, you don't have to change anymore. I said, wow, that's it. That's an improvement. And then when I got in to meet this technician, she just says, just take off your top and your bra and put them there. I mean, what wizard thought of that? That you actually can just take those off in front of the technician who's going to see you naked anyway, or half naked. And I thought, that is so clever. Minimal invasion of my privacy, right? Anyway, then I went for the boob squish bit, and she was just so good. She did the what can I say, the formalities very quickly and very well. Just boom, 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 boom. Okay, let's got that over with. All right. So now, but making sure that I had all the right information. And then she said, okay, let's do this. And I don't think having your boobs squished is an erotic experience for many people. All right. It's not, high on my list anyway. And so I was ready for it to be uncomfortable and possibly painful, and but I was also ready to just suck it up and do what I needed to do to get it done. Well, she kept saying these wonderful things like, okay, half a step towards, well done, that's just where I need you. And then she'd say, okay, now just about half an inch to the left with your shoulder or something, and I do it, and she'd go, oh, good, just where I need that. And, she kept being so good with the affirmations, all right? And then she squished my one boob, and I sort of frowned a bit, quite honestly. And I thought, okay, let me just hang on here. Went through did the second boob, and I couldn't hold it back by the time she'd squished the second one. And I said, should I be worried that you did not hurt me one bit? My concern was, had she not done it enough? And she burst out laughing and she said, nope, you're fine. I said, what? So I don't know what they've done in the 4 years since I last had a boob squish, but, it was just like, I will no longer dread it as long as I get that particular technician. But it will take about a week for me to get the result of that. But do you understand? There was one of those things where I was dreading it and I didn't need to. Why was I dreading it? Because, as I said in my letter, at 75, I've had a few of these done in my time. So I knew what to expect, to be uncomfortable and to be at some level of pain. All right? Yes, actually, Jeannie, you did say that. Jeannie's saying, I told you things had gotten better. But you see, Jeannie, why is it that I did not believe you? Because I don't live where you live. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah, it might have got better in Maine, but I'm in Canada. Maybe we don't have the same equipment that you do. So does it make sense that until I've had that experience, I won't really buy into that? All right. I'm happy for you, but how ours may still be state of the art. But I now have to say, Jeannie, you are absolutely right. They've got a lot better. And I was stunned. But the nice thing was, I wrote to the boss lady, and the next morning when I got up, there was a reply. She gets up at regular hours. But there was a reply from her, and she said, I read your wonderful letter. And she said, I immediately forwarded to both I also complimented the receptionist, for doing her job so well. But she said, I made sure that I forwarded it to the two people concerned that you mentioned. And she said, and also, obviously, to her boss. Right? That's smart. If I'd known who her boss was, I would have started there. And one of the things that I found interesting was when this technician had done such a good job, I said, I need to know who I write to. No, you don't have to do that. I said, actually, yes, I do. You don't get to control them. Yeah, I know I need to write and let her know what a great job you did. So I said, I'm certain a lot of people write things to complain, and therefore I like to have balance. And I'm a great believer in rewarding good behavior, and you've been wonderful. Your attitude was wonderful. The way you handled me with humor was wonderful. The way you did your affirmations of me were wonderful. No pain, wonderful. You know, um, I said, really, I need them to know you're that good for me. And again, I would ask you, and I'm pretty certain if you're one of my viewers that you probably do that, but do you make sure that you reward good behavior when you come across it? Take the time. Why? I'm a great believer in karma. Do good for others, and hopefully you will understand that for yourself. So now another thing I did with the crafts thing. Want to see it? Um, Dougie's new house, right? So I made him a couple of. You remember I made this green pillar candle thing, right? Goes over a LED thing. Well, I made him a couple of gray ones to go in where he's got his. Right, so there are a couple of gray ones that I've made for him, and I'll keep them flat. Sorry, everybody. I'll keep them flat until I give them to him. But what I've done is I've put the double-sided tape so when he gets home, he can put them together and then put them over a couple of his candles. All right? Cute, huh? So that was one thing. But I think you all know that Dougie comes from Africa. So what I noticed when I went to visit him was how many of his artworks had to do with Africa. So then I made him a card. Don't ask me how long this took, please, because you'll be horrified. But I thought that was a nice card for him. And also knowing that he's a sentimental sort of person, if he wants to put it in a frame, he can. All right. And so now Dougie is one of those people who doesn't like the birthday thing. All right. Doesn't like people spending their hard-earned money on birthday presents and things. Gets very upset. So Yvonne is taking both Dougie and I out to, Yvonne and Wade are taking both Dougie and I out to dinner on Wednesday. But, he also knows it's me, and I keep telling him, as long as you chose me to be your second mother, I'm afraid some of this goes by my rules, and it gives me great pleasure to give you things, so suck it up. Throw it in the garbage if you want to. Yeah, recycle it, give it to somebody else. I don't mind, but the truth is I cannot not give you something. It's not who I am. So do you understand that I spent some time this week being creative, but it took me that long before I could be. All right. I've managed to get some routine back, get the wash done on the proper days and things like that. So I know that I'm beginning to recover. And, I look at it and go, it hasn't been an easy transition, I can tell you. But I've done it. I also made sure, how's my eating doing? All right. How many of you know one of the things that happens when we're on the hamster wheel is we comfort eat? And so I wanted to know, how's my weight doing? How is everything else going? Why? Because I've also got an A1C on Tuesday. All right. So, and I'm not quite sure where it'll end up, but I think I'm okay. I'll let you know after Wednesday. I certainly wanted to have the A1C done before I went to the dinner, because I'm going to have poutine, that, because we're going to a great place for poutine. Repetition is the enactment of past experience towards the end of isolating the time segment which has lapsed in order that... Really? I'm not even going to worry with it. I don't care what you have to say. Way too long. Happiness consists of frequent, easy for you to say, so frequent, thank you. If I roll my R's, I'll be fine. Repetition of pleasure. You see, happiness comes when you think good things. Happiness comes when you get achievement. Happiness comes when you get your routine back. Happiness comes when you stop complaining about things and start doing things. All right? Make sense? Complaining about what was going on wasn't going to fix my problem. Starting to do things was going to fix my problem. And accepting the fact that maybe I had been a little slow in tidying up my yard. Now, none of us wants to um, think about that, right? We don't want to be accountable. But I managed to get there this week. I was quite happy. So I just managed to hit the wrong button on my quotes here, so just bear with me. I always do that, don't I? So let's have a look at this. I kept hearing Jody. Jody, just so you know, I kept hearing you in my mind saying, have you eaten? How's your hydration? So your repetition and care for my self-care paid dividends, all right? Because I could hear that voice of yours going, well, have you eaten today? And, sometimes I could go, no, I've been intermittent fasting accidentally. But I hear you. And then I'd get up and go and find something to eat, right? And then it was the interesting thing, Jody, it was the hydration that obviously was a little off. So I've started doing that again. Because we know you need to balance your food and your water intake if you're in high stress. And the other thing was, did I have a mantra? All right, have I got a self-affirmation that's helping me cope with this? And mine was, I have not and will not overstress on all of this. Now, I have overstressed on a couple of things, but not on all of it. I know some are within my control and some are definitely without, beyond my control. So I can deal with the things that are in my control, right? For all of you who know the Serenity Prayer. And that's where I've been, that's right, you just keep making sure that you make inroads. I've got a couple of my neighbors that are coming over tomorrow to help me weed the front. I reckon by tomorrow evening, the whole of my front will probably be ready for inspection. So when I put the letter in, I can say, I believe the front is now that much tidier. Perhaps on your way past, you could have a look at it and let me know whether and quite honestly, it isn't terrible at all. It just is, picky stuff. It's picky stuff, right? Trying to upset me. So my lesson here is, can I not let this upset me? It's not worth having a heart attack over. Therefore, do what needs to be done, but you don't, this is not show home quality. The other thing, Jody's issue, right? What do I know? I need more sleep. If I'm dealing with this level of stress, then I need more sleep. Now, one of the things that I realized was my sleep habits have got worse rather than better. I am now not going to sleep sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning. Now, that's great when you're retired because you don't necessarily have to get up to go to work. But I want to tell you, it really makes it difficult to do a lot of things because the rest of the world has already had half a day by the time I wake up. And that means if I'm trying to do things, contacting other people, it gives me less and less time. Makes sense because they work regular hours. That means I have to do certain things that are certain. Jody, I'm certain you found that as well. Jody always does her telephoning on a Monday, right? Monday's her telephone day. It's a very clever thing. Muhammad Ali said, it's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief comes a deep conviction, things start to happen. Right? Jody, you believed that you could get hold of Plan B, even if you couldn't get the meds that they wanted you to have because of the insurance hoopla thing, you knew that there had to be a better way than the way you were struggling. So therefore, you kept at it with your doctor, and your doctor eventually came up with a short-term answer. Great work. I'm so proud of you. That's looking after you, and that's not being victim to the system. Napoleon Hill also said that any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. So if you ended up with the sort of stress situation that I've got, what sort of affirmation would you say to yourself? What would you say to keep you calm? You know, the one that I keep saying because my little kid is worried is they can't evict you over this, so don't worry. The other thing is you have got excellent support going on at the moment. The only thing that I really queried this week was should I, in fact, have gone to my lawyer rather than do it this way? And I'm beginning to think, no, the reason that the way I'm doing it was put into place so that people of my age didn't have to spend money on lawyers, all right, that I could do it without spending a whole lot of money. And then there was the other part of me said, but I used to work for them. So therefore, they probably wouldn't charge me that much. And I'm going, yeah, but would they give it the attention I'm getting at the moment? Probably not. So I decided to carry on doing what I'm doing. For now, there's nothing to stop me going to a lawyer later if I want to. So going back to the sleep thing, do you understand that it requires that I make a change? It requires that I go to bed earlier. And that's difficult to break that habit, right? If you get into the habit of not going to sleep until 3 o'clock in the morning, how are you going to train your brain to go to sleep at 2 or 1? But I need to do it for a couple of days to get my mind, clicked over to regular time. So I'll let you know how that goes. Changing a habit is very difficult. The other thing is, I went through a systematic assessment, if you like. Critical thinking through literally every sentence that I had been given on this master plan of all the things I had to do by the end of the month. One of the things was, I identified there was a need for a cleanup. In my mind, I didn't argue that, especially in certain places, right? Then I asked myself, is the time frame doable? And some of them was yes, and some of them I'm going, not in my wildest dreams. For example, is it practical was another thing I asked myself. One of the things they want me to do is to power wash my walkways because there's cement, or to clean them. I've got a power washer. But then we're in the middle of drought conditions right around the world. And I'm thinking, I think I'm going to ask for permission to do that once we start getting rain again. So I can go out in the rain and throw some, soap down and give it a good scrub. But I don't want to be power washing and wasting water just because. Make sense? One of the pictures that I found showed my composter exactly the same place it is right now. So I know they can't ask me to move that. It's already been there. All right, Jeannie's saying, good stuff, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying, I worry about gaining weight, and the scale read higher recently. Instead of panicking, I remained calm, saying, my knee and ankle are swelling, so my weight is higher than usual. Absolutely. So what is causing them to swell again, Jeannie, just so that I don't skip over that a second time? Because I think you did say something about that. So what is causing your knee and ankle to swell again? I suffer from edema when the weather is hot. So, I'm really struggling with swollen feet and legs and all sorts of things. But I've got it under control better than I had last year, I must say. So let me know what's causing it. Now, the other thing was that I went, okay, fine. So one of the things was, I think I've got a pretty good argument that the compost stays where it is. And I also have an argument that I was told to remove the bags of leaves. Well, what I also did was say to myself, I recycle stuff. You all know that. So all the leaves that Dougie collected for me last fall, I bagged up and I have systematically used in my compost and or as mulch in my or base for my planters. When I make my planter stuff, I put a base of dead leaves in the bottom for the goodness that they have. All right, and then I put layers of soil and my special soil that the worms have been making for me. So it's just like, no, I'm not happy about this. So what I think I need to do is to just say I do not intend to stop using the leaves. Uh, what container would be more acceptable? Yeah. Do I need to buy a couple of garbage bins, and keep them in there? In other words, I need to find a solution to that one. I'm not going to not keep the leaves. All got it? All right. So Jeannie's saying because she fell a month ago and really banged her right knee, everything is still healing. Doctor said I need physiotherapy now. Yeah. And you haven't gone because? While Jeannie's giving me that answer, with enough emotional intensity and repetition, the nervous system experiences some things are real, right? Even if it hasn't occurred yet. So do you understand? Even though certain things haven't happened, there's that part of me that starts awfulizing it. What if they do this? What if they do that? What if? And it's called one step at a time. Oh, Jeannie, I so relate to that. Thank you for that honesty. Jeannie's saying, I thought everything would heal by itself. Mhm. The same as Jody thought she could get sleep by herself. We are remarkably dumb at times, aren't we? But I also know that that's how you were trained, Jeannie. I was telling somebody this week, Jeannie, when I was one of my neighbors was talking to me, and I said, but my parents grew up through the war years, so we had a very different upbringing than the children of today. All right, we were taught not to go and take medicine for everything that happens. All right, we were taught to suck it up here and there. We were taught, to make another plan. We were taught all sorts of things that we don't teach kids today. Why? Our parents lived through the war years where there wasn't a lot of stuff. I find it very interesting. One of my videos that you probably remember is about washing Swiffer dusters rather than throwing them away. And, it is very interesting to me to see how many people comment on the fact that I left the tap running when I did that. And, I don't do that anymore. I now put the Swiffer into a mason jar, squidge some Dawn in there and some water, and then I shake it like mad. Then I rinse it once and do not have the tap running for more than that time, the faucet. But, it's interesting to me how that new generation all see that tap was running. And, of course, some of them are in countries where a shortage of water is, really a serious problem. And where isn't it a serious problem right now? So I look at it and goes, I've had a lot of learning through all of this. I got some feedback for you. Remember I was telling you I was going to try and use the greenhouse window as a dehydrator. There will be a lot of sun-dried tomatoes in my recipes this winter. All right? Those are all tomatoes that I sun-dried in the last couple of weeks, and I got more coming. And by the way, they make a really nice snack. I wondered what happens if I put my lemons in the big dehydrator rather than put them in the fridge. They don't look good, but I bet you they do the job. My little herb garden here, parsley grew like a weed, so I just cut some and put it in the greenhouse window. What did I put it in, just so you know? thing that the raspberries come in. Okay. I'm still eating that sun-dried tomato, Jeannie. So I just plopped the parsley in there, closed it, stuck it in there, and left it alone for a week. And I now have dried parsley, and that'll go in stews and things in the winter. And because it's dehydrated, it takes up a lot less space. That's what I'm trying to teach myself, how to use less space in my freezers. So the other thing that I found out when I was doing the critical thinking was, wait a minute, garbage only gets collected here every second week, and I have the tiniest of garbage bins, for recycling. So it would be physically impossible for me to get everything into the garbage. And she'll probably say, well, you can take it to the dump or whatever. And I'm going, no. This is called, I will put it somewhere neatly, and I undertake over the course of the next month to get rid of as much as I can through the right system. All right? And I think that's the thing. Same thing. Plastics, I can get rid of those every week, but I only have a bin about this size to do it in. So what I'm going to try is, I've got an extra rubbish bin, and what I'm going to do is load that up with plastic and see if they take it this week. All right, I'll put it behind my plastics things and make pretty certain that they can see it's all plastics in there, and then see if they take it. Jeannie's saying we have a trash compactor, and that helps enormously to make things smaller. I have quite a bit of weight that would help tremendously on that as well. Good point, Jeannie. I will try that one. Try standing on it and see how much extra space I get. The other thing is, I got Plan B and C. Plan B is for the inspection, bag it up, put it on my deck. And Plan C is, if I have to, put it in my car, right? And D is, put it in my house. So I feel fairly confident that I got answers to that sort of stuff. The problem is the stuff that may be more toxic, and that may mean put it in something and put it in the shed for now, and then really make a point of getting rid of it every week. However, the comment was made that everything basically had to come away, that nothing on the backyard. And I'm going, that can't be right. There's nothing in my tenancy agreement. I own my house on rented land. There's nothing in my tenancy agreement that says I'm not allowed to have anything, in the back area. And I know at one point they said, well, why do you have that there? You never use it. I said, that's irrelevant. That is irrelevant whether I use it or not. It's mine. And it makes me happy to see, remember that cantilever umbrella or my hammock? It's like they make me happy when I look at them. So I'm keeping them out. This is like, I'll do a lot, but there's a limit. So do you understand that certain things are just picky? And they're picky because she's angry at me, and I understand that. But I also understand that I am overdue to do this. And I'm very grateful that a couple of my neighbors offered to come and help me weed tomorrow. Very happy. And they're new neighbors. They're not the regular ones. It's like they're new neighbors that offered to come because they think it's terrible what's happening. And I really thank them. By the way, got nothing to do with the property line issue. That's going to have to be sorted out legally. It's the only way we're going to sort that one out. Can you see that if I get the right mentality, I don't have to live in high stress for the next 2 weeks. I just need to do things in the right order. And I believe that what she can see from the road would be the most important thing. And then invite her to come and do another inspection in a month and say, I might not have it all done, but you will be able to see that I'm continuing to do the work. And quite honestly, I don't think that she will like that, but hello, there's fairness in this as well. All right. And to me, that is, you know, Jeannie's saying, how do you know whether or not I use it? Oh, because of my neighbor, Jeannie. Enough said. It's so funny. Somebody came and I said, you know, I live between heaven and hell. Gertrude Stein said it is the soothing thing about history that it does repeat itself. All right. Now, I also know that I have been through this I will stand up and fight business before in my life. All right. And I've lost a lot by doing it. But I just had to laugh. Yvonne says, you always stand up for injustice. So, you know, she said, I've known you so long and injustice drives you insane. And I go, I know. So she said, anybody who thinks you're going to do otherwise, you know, doesn't know you at all. And I said, I think that's a compliment, and I'd like to thank you for it. But you remember I said to Dougie, you remember Dougie's story, and I said to him, Dougie, um, I know you will follow this dream, but what if you lost everything? Would you still want to follow it? And he said yes. You see, Dougie is a boots and all person, all right? And so when he did, I didn't say I told you so. I said, hey, you know, you gave that commitment, so let's get you back on your feet somehow. You know, it's just like it took a while, but he did it, and now look at where he is. You know, so it's be who you are is terribly important, but you also pay the price for being who you are. I believe that if I can literally take before and after pictures on a lot of this stuff, you know, I'm not going to have a huge fight on my hands. And if I do, I will take it up a notch. You know, I will take it to arbitration as well, because that's cruelty to animals. I was going to say, no, that's not the right word. Abuse of elders. Yeah. It's the same as cruelty to animals, but yeah. But you can see that if I balance this out properly, I can still enjoy my birthday coming up. I can still do all those things. And it's definitely not worth having a heart attack over. It is said that routine has nothing to do with repetition. To become really good at anything, you have to practice and repeat until the technique becomes intuitive. You know, there was part of me when I realized I had messed up in terms of the envelope size. I went, but look how much experience you got putting these together. All right. And you can do it in half the time that you used to be able to do it, because you know exactly what order to do things in. And I could see, do any of you relate to that? I could see, even if I had to ditch them, that you can't take that experience away from me. So I had gained from doing it. The other thing I thought is, if they end up a real mess, there's one that's really not up to snuff at all. And what I said was, you know, I bet you there's somebody sitting somewhere that would be grateful of it to send to somebody. So, you know, this is called, don't think it's a loss. It just isn't a perfect one. And that again is all about our thinking, right? It's how we think about these things that causes the stress. Now, I've been pretty systematic about going out there with my weed killer. That is a jug, a big jug of vinegar, into which I put some Dawn and some olive oil. All right. Shake it all up, and then I go and visit the weeds. And I'm really, really sad because some of the weeds I have to accidentally kill are my poppies. But, you know, it is what it is. So let me just get it done. I'm pretty certain poppies have lasted generations, so they'll come back again. I just need to get the weeds dead. All right, so Jean is saying some people are coming from out of state in September. I don't wish to show my home yet. Deck is awful and unsafe. 2 rooms are not ready. Why do I feel badly about it? Well, the reason, Jeannie, good question. Does anybody else relate to that? It's because you don't have your show home back yet. Your perfectionism has a problem. All right. Jeannie, I've been back over a year and I've still got those 10 boxes in my studio. Maybe 8 now. You know what I mean? It's the last 8. You know it's going to take me 5 years to clear those. Why? Most of it's painting stuff. I know it's not critical. So why do you feel bad about it? All right. Now, if it isn't perfectionism, tell me what came up for you. Because it's quite often when I say, oh, it's probably perfectionism, you go, no, it isn't, but it's so and so. Jody had that problem not so long ago, which was, her house is no longer the show home because it's got a hospital bed in it and all sorts of things. All right. But, that's habit. And I had some people, I couldn't believe the neighbors that came to give me moral support this week. All right. And some of them came twice. So cute. And, I kept saying the house is a mess, but you can come. And they say, we aren't coming for the house. We're coming to support you. All right. Ah, interesting. Jeannie's saying these people have a gorgeous home. We will enjoy their company, but take them out. Yes. And I am certain they will be more than grateful for that. The only people who get to come in my house are people I don't think are going to judge me too much. Jeannie, you'll probably laugh about this. Do you know that I keep my dining room table as though I had 5 people for dinner last night? That's how I keep my dining room table. There's still some knives and forks on it. The one chair is pushed back a bit. It's really funny. And why do I do that? Because everybody goes, oh, did you have company last night? And I go, yeah, that's what it looks like, right? I don't know why, but I like that. So I've got, charger plates out and really nice napkins and stuff like that. I love that. I love that people think I just had a whole lot of people for dinner. Not personally. Didn't eat them or anything. No. So it was really nice. Can you imagine talking to the listing agent who sold this place to me? And I said, you could have warned me. And obviously that she was really upset that I'd been having such a hard time. And I said, hey, it's obviously here to teach me a lesson. So I'm going to try and just stay above it all. So, but if she hadn't been organized enough to have all those pictures still, I wouldn't be able to prove a lot of things I can now prove. And so for that, I'm very grateful. And I told her so. Can you understand that part of the reason that I'm feeling a lot more at peace is because I've done my due diligence and I found out they cannot evict me for the reasons that they probably will try. And you understand that's what this is about, because even the manager said to the lady from the association, don't worry, we'll get them out soon enough. Nice, huh? Why? Because they know everybody, breaks a rule here and there somehow. It's like nobody's perfect, right? So now what they're going to do is get so picky that I get fed up with them picking on me and go. Don't think so. You do realize that whatever I do, and this is an important point, whatever I do will never be enough. You do know that, right? You see, that I'm okay with it. I know that. I know that this will not be the end of the nitpickiness until somebody gets bored with me. But again, I keep going, I believe in karma. And I also know really, really well, and you've heard me talk about this, I am only responsible for my behavior. So I need to keep control and I need to keep doing the best I can to just get this sorted out in a, whatever way. Offer to, I can't do this, but I'd like to, you to consider maybe doing this. Don't not be nasty, and just see if I can come to a win-win on a lot of these things. And again, to keep reminding myself, this is just not worth having a heart attack over. Right? I have one of my neighbors that is struggling with chemo and doing all sorts of things, and she is still coming to help me weed. And I didn't say no because I know that's what she wants to do. She wants to show, what is the word? She wants to show how much she cares. And I am not going to stop her from doing that. And you know, it's so funny because in my life I have a walking stick on, on pods, one of those that's on a pod. And it was belonged to Yvonne's daddy, and we reckoned I'd be the next one to need it possibly, so I inherited it. And I keep it by the door. Why? Because whenever she comes in, because comes down to me, she's got one of those not wheelchairs, but those um, walkers, on wheels and stuff. So she knows she can leave that at the bottom of my stairs, come up the stairs, and then when she comes in, she's got something to balance there as well. And I'm so glad I've got it for her. And what a kind person. So look at all of this, all right? And can you see that if I keep being angry, this is not going to solve anything? That's very kind. Jody's saying you're all about fairness and balance. Yes. And I know that this has put a lot of strain on people that, love me dearly. Jeannie and Jody and Yvonne and everybody else that knows me, all right? Those people who love me, they've been very, very angry about this. But I've said to them, if I keep on doing the right things, we probably get through this. And if not, then, right, I just do different things. How about this? When dailiness enters the memory, repetition fixes places in mind, but it also burdens them with a wealth of experience that is often difficult to untangle. How many of you know that when you're busy trying to find balance, you realize just how busy your life is? Have any of you found that? And that's why it's so difficult to have balance, because so many things are screaming at you to get your attention. Right? Isn't it funny that when you're trying to find balance, you don't have time to go and spend 2 hours in confetti corner because I need to do the wash and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I went, no, your house is fairly tidy, not tidy in a anal retentive way, but it's fairly tidy and it's fairly clean. And so therefore you do have time. And by the way, you took Friday off. And therefore you definitely have time, because you have about 8 hours worth of extra time between the broadcast and preparation and everything. So yes, you have time. And the thing is, do you choose to use it in that way? Now, I chose to use some of my day off and doing some of the yard work because I saw that as my exercise and I was happy about that. And then, but I also spent, as you know, a fair amount of time creating a card I could have bought for. But it's not the same, is it, right? You all know that Dougie's going to love the fact I did that, all right? Why? Because he loves that sort of stuff, right? And he will forgive me for giving him a card when he sees it. And I won't, I'll just put a piece of paper in there saying, happy birthday or whatever, but I'll just tack it in there so that he can take it out. And if he wants to put it in a frame, he can. And by the way, if he really likes it, I'll do a big one for him. You know what I mean? It's just like, all things are possible. The ear tends to be lazy. It craves the familiar and is shocked by the unexpected. The eye, on the other hand, tends to be impatient, craves the novel, and is bored by repetition. Isn't that true? Jeannie's saying it looks like Africa with a beautiful giraffe. Actually, there are some giraffes there, Jeannie. You can't see it there, but there is 1, 2, 3 different giraffes there. It's actually 3D. All right. And this sunrise here, that is also, there are 2 of those as well. So one would have done. I could have just printed it. Why don't I? Now, the other thing I'm going to really remind myself is that if I do what I call a Dougie, which is if I go out every day that I can and spend 1 hour focusing on cleanup and getting things tidied and put into place, you do understand that this job will be done fairly quickly. All right. I can probably do most of it in the time. What I have done about the boundary thing is I have taken some rope and put a rope through to the boundary that they want. So I try to keep to it as best I can until I get this sorted out in court. No one is born with skill. It is developed through exercise, through repetition, through a blend of learning and reflection. Gotta laugh. That's both painstaking and rewarding, and it takes time. What I want to say is the skill of getting off the hamster wheel is all of those things, all right? You have to practice getting off it, right? And if you practice, you get off it far more quickly. I was really aware that it took me way longer than normal to get off the hamster wheel on this one. Why? My little kid was deeply concerned that I was, going to have something terrible happen, and I was going to lose my house, and I'm going, you've done due diligence. And I made sure that the person who's helping me at the association had spoken up at government level to make sure that they agreed with what's happening to me is not right. Why? Because they're the people that will have the arbitrator there at arbitration. So, if they see that this is not fair or right, and that my biggest problem is that I actually asked for the rules to be followed. That's what caused all of this. And then I got pushback and retaliation and all those things. So this is like, okay, I just let it be and just went, okay, fine. I wouldn't have this issue, but I'm not that person. I like this. And my experience has taught me this about how people and organizations improve. The best place to look is for small changes we could make rather than things we do often. There is power in steadiness and repetition. So you understand, going out every day and focusing on tidy up, not on watering or doing whatever. Part of my day is go out there and spend one focused hour tidying up. It's amazing how much you can get done. Now, I'm going to be going out, with the power washer and do a bit, because there is one part that really does need to have some attention to it, and I will power wash that. But I'm going to ask for permission to power wash the rest when the rains come, and therefore, in other words, not power wash it, but let nature help me, because I don't want to waste water necessarily. I might even ask to do it all at that time. So can you guys understand this is all about how I choose to perceive it? Now, I've done the work. Makes sense? I've done my due diligence. I could go straight to a lawyer and get it done that way, or I could continue on the path that I'm on, which will cost me far less. But the result may be the same. The interesting thing is that I don't have a guarantee that they will see it my way. I'm prepared for that as well. And, it is funny that I do know that success, luckily, I've lived with success and failure enough in my time to know that success isn't for anybody, right? Nobody wins when you're fighting like this. Does that make sense? So I am going to just take it and balance it out as best I can, and apologize for the fact that my yard didn't meet muster. But also I'm going to stand strong on certain things that I believe I have, right, because nowhere in my document does it say I'm not allowed to have things out in my backyard. And that's madness in my view. So, yeah, Jody's saying it makes sense, no winner. Or, Jody, we can both choose to back off a bit and then we'll get to a win-win. I don't think we'll get to a win-win on the boundary thing until I take it to arbitration. quite honestly. I don't think she's going to back off that one because of the neighbor. They think they've won. Apparently, they were high-fiving. um, but this is okay. That's fine. There are no winners or losers. It's just like it is what it is, and I need to deal with it. And so, not the way I'd planned to spend my 75th birthday, and I'm certain not the way that everybody else wants me to spend it either, but it is what it is. And I'm pleased to report that I've managed to keep my weight. I did sort of touch on this. I managed to keep my weight pretty well under control, allowing for the fact, that I am still carrying water. And so, I'm pretty happy with what I've achieved. Are there any special birthday plans? No, the funny thing is that, I'm going out with Yvonne, Wade, Doug, and myself. We're all going out to dinner. It's sort of like the family pod. And Marnie's trying to get me to go somewhere, and I need to reply to her because she has asked me a couple of times. So I need to say yes, and let's work out when. Marnie is also threatening to take me on vacation in her trailer, which she did a year ago, and we never got to do it. And so that may still happen, and that will be fun. And I said to her, you do know that I now snore horribly. And so it's just like, but if she still wants to take me, then I don't have to worry, right? When you look at all of this, it's just life, isn't it? It's just life. And I look at Jody, all that she's trying to cope with as well as being ill, and I'm going, but if you live, the aggravation doesn't go away, does it, Jody? If you choose to live, the aggravation doesn't go away. Hey, I found out something I didn't know this week. Well, not difficult because lots I don't know. But I didn't know that in Canada we now have a legal assisted suicide. I didn't know that. Now, I found that out through not a pleasant subject, but I was really fascinated to hear that. And so I went, wow, I didn't know that. I've always said, we can euthanize our animals, but, if we are terminal, we're not allowed to do the same for ourselves. Well, apparently now it's possible. That's good. So I look at it all and say, people, it happens to us all. All right? Life happens to us all. It isn't all good, but it's all about lessons. How much can I learn from this? My new goal will be to get through a whole year without getting one of these letters. Maybe a season without getting one. I don't know. And somebody said to me, but your garden's so pretty. I said, apparently. Jeannie's saying, have I been to the mailbox lately? Have I received any cards? No, I haven't, but I do know that this is the week to do it. I am aware of that. I will probably need to do 2 trips out that way. The reason I say that, actually, no, this week, I will go early when's my birthday? On Tuesday, right? Tuesday week, 30th. I will probably go on the Saturday and go and check the mailbox because that will be something. But thank you for sending it, Jeannie, because you wouldn't be asking that unless you'd sent me a card. I was thinking that some of you might have sent me a card, especially as it's the 75th. And so that this is, I'd already sort of said, I need to get to that mailbox. I want to tell you, I've got the most wonderful mailbox people there. All right. they know that, it's a special effort for me to go to the mailbox. So what they're inclined to do is to phone me and say, be a good time to come visit. And I go, oh, okay, fine. Yeah, I'll do that. So did you learn anything today? Did it bring up anything for you today? And if so, I am happy that it was worth talking about. But, when I look at it all and I go, There's so many other things that, that are way worse than what I'm dealing with. And I am so grateful that I know what I know. And part of the reason I am standing up and fighting is I do have more knowledge and skill than a lot of people. And if this has stressed me out this much, can you imagine to people who don't know their rights? And so to me, this is like, it's the reason why I'm doing it, of course, which is needs to be stopped. It's not right. And it's not vengeance. It's not right. Yeah. Jeannie's saying, I'm glad you're more relaxed. You have taught us a lot. Well, Jeannie, I took it, I take it from the best teacher I believe we all know, right? Um, I believe that Jesus taught us in parables, and that, you know, you can talk about this until you're blue in the face in terms of you take step one and then you do this and you do this and you do this. But how many of you know when you're hearing about it take place, it's different? All right. When it took me, way longer than normal to get off the hamster wheel this time. Why? It hurt so much. It was, one of my pillars of my life, right, is, I have three things trigger me, and I know what they are. And one of them is if you betray me, of course, because I've had that happen. And one of them is injustice. And the third one I'll think about. But it's just like, and I have integrity, not perfect, but I have integrity. And just because I upset you does not mean that you should have revenge. All right. And so part of this is I know that I've done due diligence, and I feel fairly good about the fact that I can show it is not vengeance on my side coming back. It's going to show that I really did do everything I could to get this sorted out without going the route that I will have to go. And that's all that I care about. I also know I won't be receiving any monetary reward because that's not how the process works. However, in terms of things like my shed and so forth, they might say in compensation for that, you need to reduce her rent by X for the next number of years, or whatever. So they have a way of doing it, but they don't literally, give you money. And then if I don't think it's fair, what happens? I do still have the right to take them to small claims or something like that. So this is like, it is, just not fun. And the choice is to just bend and let it go. And then I'd be angry at myself for the rest of my life, because it's not just about me, it's everybody else that's receiving the same treatment. That is what concerns me. So this is DearMamaSal saying, remember that if you don't stand up for certain things, then you'll fall for anything. But the other thing, remember what that lawyer taught me a long time ago. And that is 9 times out of 10, the only people who make money out of a court case are the lawyers. And so this is about, think about what you're going to fight, and think about how you want to fight it. I'm just so lucky that here in British Columbia, they actually are concerned about what is happening in places like mine. And they've set up a system to help us do the legal part at a reasonable cost. And that to me is very important. All right. And I'll be able to show that it's possible to do that without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars or something. Have a wonderful week. I am definitely feeling a lot better. I hope you all feel a little bit more relaxed about it all. And I'll keep updating you as it goes along, because I'm certain it will. But it is what it is, and it needs to be dealt with. This is DearMamaSal saying, critical thinking is where you're able to see both sides of the story. Doesn't matter which side you sit on, can you see both sides? And if you can, you know that you have critical thinking ability. If you can only see your perspective, then you don't. And I thought that whole thing about Trump and the secret documents and Hillary Clinton with her email thing, that shows exactly why both sides got incensed. Hi, Isabel, and goodbye, Isabel. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, do what you need to do to get what you need to get, because then you sleep well at night. I'll see you on Friday. I think we might actually make a Friday broadcast. Bye for now. Thanks, Jody and Jeannie and anybody else